Hello, Allan. Can
Hello,
you hear me
Subasa.
now?
How's it going?
There you go. We have to do this recording again because there was a problem. You guys have no
hmm
idea.
Absolutely no idea.
All good.
The police had to
Um,
get involved, but everything's fine. Have been cleared
yep,
of all charges.
took forever to get them out of his house. Well, we're gonna repeat again the same thing, maybe overlaps what we talked before, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself again and hope you can do even better. Because that was amazing before.
Hello. Hello, this is me. My name is Allan. I am a person of Ontario, Canada. Uh, that's all there is about me.
What do you do?
I'm a tattooer. I've been tattooing for 11 years. I'm 32 years old right now. I am an
Can you
enthusiast of Japanese culture and language. That is how I met Tsubasa in
mm.
2013 through Tsubasa was in Canada himself. And we were helping each other with language acquisition. Tsubasa helping me more than I helped him, of course.
I don't know, cause you taught me a lot of interesting things. Actually, maybe you didn't teach me a lot of English languages, but you taught me a lot of cultural things that I didn't know anything about before. I remember well, first thing I remember is you taking me to the concert of the band you're actually wearing the T-shirt right now, Piss Jeans from
I'm glad you noticed.
I I recognize that shirt. I even remember the moment that, I actually took pictures of you wearing that shirt, holding the shirt like, so happy.
Yeah.
Where are they from? America?
Where are they from? They're somewhere in the United States.
Mm. And it was at, Horseshoe what was that
It was at
place?
Lee's Palace.
Lee's Palace, okay.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah, I caught a
first
drumstick.
you're right. What was the first time you took me to the show?
It might have been. We also went to the casualties at
Oh, you went to Casualties too? Okay. I was thinking that.
uh that was at the Sound Academy,
Sound
formerly the
Academy.
Docks and now the Rebel.
Oh, it changed?
Yeah, it changes every
It's a
couple of years.
venue on the Yeah, we had to like, I had a friend who took me there, but we just took forever to get there because I mean, I was new to the town, and she didn't it's out of the way. It's, like, in the little island area,
Yeah.
and I just had to walk all the way, but there's nothing around, so I wasn't sure if there's anything. But then I saw a bunch of punks around, walking around, and, okay,
Follow
this
the
must be
punks.
full of punks, full of dirty hippies and crusties.
That's the great thing about concerts like that if you're not sure where to go. I mean, if the people are dressing extreme enough, then you know who to follow.
Oh, yeah, these are my type of people who I can follow them. They're wearing a Dayglow abortion shirt. Yeah, that's the guy.
Remember at that show, I think the singer said something maybe a little offensive, like culturally or nationally offensive. I can't remember
What's that?
exactly what it was, but
At the Casualties?
one of the fans climbed up onto the side and like I don't know, gave him shit like, "Hey, you can't say that" or something like that, and he just fucking slapped her and went right back to the show.
What, Dayglows?
No, casualties.
The Casualties. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wanna know fuck, man. The
Well, we were in
Casualties
the
has a
back, so
lot
we
of
had no idea what they were saying. So we just
yeah.
saw him give her a good slap, and she fell back, and then the show went on.
Funny. Well, Casualties have a lot of, stuff surrounding the band, but I don't know. Whatever. But that was a good time. I posted on my social media at the time, and this dude who used to teach me English, he had nothing to do with punk or any kind of stuff like that. And he was like, "That place looks like a scary place." Because I posted a video of these like people, uh, a girl and with a mohawk just moshing and pushing each other, and he was like, "Oh, this looks like a scary place," and I was like, "Oh no, this is my place." I'm happy for the first time in my life
Yeah,
traveling.
a much different scene with concerts and stuff than it is in Japan, isn't it?
You know what? It's actually kind of similar because I just hadn't been to proper punk shows, and so, and I was still living in Gifu, which I had
Mhm.
no idea there was a scene going on, or I didn't. Well, first show I went to was Rancid in Nagoya when I was like, yeah, maybe 17, 18. So I
Yeah.
knew it existed, but there wasn't really like a scene that I can jump into. So I felt so actually welcome when I went to Canada, and so yeah, I'm glad you took me to the a bunch of. I remember you brought six six pack, no six pack, beer, six
Yeah.
packs of beer, and I didn't drink back then, so I was like, I don't drink, okay, and you were like, okay, and you kind of buried. You had one drink, and you buried everything else under the snow behind the alley of the venue. Do you remember that?
It sounds familiar. Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we did that, and we went to the show, and you got the drumstick and the chair.
Yeah, and a
Good times.
vinyl. Still listen to it.
I know. Okay, cool.
One of my favorite things about attending a show, I make a game out of like stashing my belongings. So like if I bring some weed or if I bring some beer or something like that, not nothing too valuable that I'll get upset if it gets stolen. But finding the perfect spot near the venue where I can come back and get my stuff, or if I say I'm going out for a smoke and then I go slam a beer or two and come
Mm.
back in. Of course, I'm not such an asshole that I won't buy a couple beers inside, but like, who wants to pay that much if you're getting loaded? Uh,
Yeah.
a show I went to not too long ago, an interesting thing happened. I found a pretty good spot in some bushes. This was in summertime to put my backpack, and I had a pipe in there, a lighter, and a couple different containers of weed. This is after weed became legal and you can get some variety.
Nice.
So we stashed that away, and after the show, I come back and I go to get my bag back. The bag is still there, the pipe's still there, the lighter's still there, but someone went into my bag and took
Mm.
out one or two of the containers of weed and left some for me to still have. They were like,
How
I'm gonna
nice.
be a dick and I'm gonna steal, but like I don't want this guy to be without weed, so they left me some for the trip home. And that was really nice. Stealing in a
That's very
generous
nice
way.
of That's very nice of you and nice of them. I don't know
Yeah,
who you are, but if you're listening to the podcast, I guess thank you.
absolutely. Yes, thank you so much for giving me something for the trip home.
Stealing shit from them. Um, what band did you go see?
I think actually I went and saw Shonen Knife. They're from Osaka.
Oh, they traveled like when last, I guess. How when?
Yeah, I guess this was 2019. This is my second time seeing them in
Mm,
concert. And I'm really
wow.
impressed with
So
Shonen
nice.
Knife because the first time I saw them, they not only they had an excellent stage attitude, like they were really
Mhm.
happy to be performing, which is very refreshing. Not a lot of bands have that. But they did the first half of their set was like decided ahead of time, and then they were like, okay, so for the next half, like, what do you want to hear? Let's yell out some requests. And then every single song they did for the second half, someone would just yell out, oh, I want to hear this one. And they're like, okay, yeah. They knew
That's
their
amazing.
material so well that it's just like, doesn't matter what
Mm.
song you say, we wrote it, we can play it.
You don't even have to rehearse, I guess. That's
And then
awesome.
at the end of the show, they met anyone who wanted to meet them. I got their signatures. We had a little conversation. They were so cool, so personable. It was such a memorable experience. Shout out to Shonen Knife, Osaka
Shout out to Shonen
Ramones,
Knife. Osaka what?
Osaka Ramones. You know
What
the
does that
band the
mean?
Ramones.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like they're considered the Osaka Ramones.
Oh, they're from Osaka.
Yeah,
I can hear that, yeah. Shonen Knife.
yeah,
I'm surprised they're still around these days. Good for them.
yeah.
I
What kind
remember. Mhm. I remember
I
you
was gonna
listening
ask.
to a bunch of. You remember Melt Banana?
I love Melt Banana.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning.
Yeah, I've seen them in Toronto 4 times. They always do a pretty good show. Although they
Mm.
stripped their band down recently and they don't have a full band anymore, but they're still a
Oh,
cool band.
what were you gonna ask me?
I was gonna ask you about shows that you've seen.
Yeah, so the first thing I think was the Casualty, the Sound Academy, and then, well, the Piss Jeans with you,
Hmm.
and I went to a bunch of shows at the Bovine Sex Club, because they had a free punk show every Tuesday, so I would go there and see local bands. Also, I had a friend who fronted a band called Teenage X. Actually, I'm having the singer Sarah from Teenage X on my podcast. Hopefully, well, she agreed to do it. So next, this week actually, and
Awesome.
yeah, they are one of the most, I would say, what's the word? To me, it's very personal, and even though their musical style is not fully my cup of tea originally, they really have the music. When I listen to their music, I remember those days in Toronto, and same as um yeah, other music I used to listen to there. I also went to Social Distortion, which I assume you were there too. We couldn't really
We,
just see each other.
you and I saw Social Distortion at Young and Dundas Square.
Yeah, we didn't really see each other there though, huh?
No,
Because
no, no,
you
we were
I
there.
really together?
Yeah, didn't we go? You and I together?
No, I think I went to there with my friend Cece and a friend from France. And then I was like trying to like find you, but we couldn't find it until the end of the show. Because I remember like piggybacking Cece, so she's really tiny, she can see the show, and I was like looking around, and you weren't there. So yeah, I
Ah,
guess we met up after the show, and like it wasn't a huge show, but it was a pretty big show. I guess we couldn't run into each other.
ah.
There's a lot
I
of
feel
people
like I
too.
remember seeing you there. I
Maybe
could
you
be
have.
mistaken though.
Yeah, I remember you gave me the belt of Social Distortion. Remember that?
I don't.
Yeah, you gave me as a gift after. Yeah, after I don't know when, but you gave me a belt that has their
Oh,
logos and dice and all that.
oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, it's broken, so I don't have it anymore. But and you gave me a lot of stuff. You gave me recently. You gave me a Trailer Park Boys shirt and a paper to roll joint,
Yeah, yeah.
which
Rolling papers.
unfortunately I haven't I haven't been able to use,
That's
but
okay. Just
maybe I
a
can wipe
little
my ass
memento.
with it.
Yeah.
Also, you remember you give me a hand painted shirt and a book. Remember the book,
Oh
comic book?
yeah. I give you
So,
the very last copy of that comic.
oh wow, I appreciate
Yeah,
that. And
yeah. It'll never get printed again.
wow, yeah, I'm keeping it. And funny thing is, at the airport, for no reason in Japan, they wanted to search my belongings.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I opened the stuff, and I didn't have drugs or anything, but I had your book. And the guy was going through like looking for something dangerous, and they grab your book and just open it and look at it for like 5 seconds, and then they're like, okay, you can go.
You can have this back. I don't want to look at it anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to look at it anymore. I don't want to know what's in there. Just fucking please go. So yeah, thankful for you for helping me
Excellent.
going through the custom.
I hope, yeah, I hope I helped you have an easier time. I hope I got them off your back for you.
Yeah, I was a bit scared, like, oh, they're gonna think I'm some kind of a pervert or psychopath, gonna detain me. But anyway, um, yeah. So I want to ask you about the tattoo again. When did you start, and what would you consider your style to be?
Well, I started tattooing professionally in 2010.
Mm,
I've been tattooing professionally ever since. As far as my style is concerned, like most tattooers, I would like to say that I have a unique style and that like I'm not just a carbon copy of some other artist.
mhm.
I like dark arts. I like evil stuff, weird stuff, creepy stuff, gross stuff. I
Disgusting.
I do I don't know, stuff that I think is weird, creepy and cute things as well. I like to do biomech. We talked about this earlier when we
Hmm.
got cut off there. Biomechanical, bioorganic, whichever you want to call it. It's
Mm.
like it's kind of like free form abstractism, but still with like structure to it. So not like a Jackson Pollock, for example, where it's just a bunch of splatter. More like more like unintelligible landscapes or formations. Take a lot of inspiration from nature or textures that you see occurring naturally. Um, for reference, if you don't know what biomech is, check out H.R. Geiger or H.R. Giger, however you want to pronounce him, the Swedish artist who he designed Alien and Predator, as well as a bunch of other stuff, including
Oh, okay.
even a music video for Blondie. I hope it's Blondie that I remember. I'm not somebody else. Not much of a musical fan in that one, but yeah, basically just weird shit. And I also tattoo realism as well. I feel like biomech when it is more of a liberating type of art when it comes to like there really are no strict regulations, strict rules, as long as it's readable and you can see shapes and textures and formations, flow and direction, composition. Those are the important pieces rather than like following specific rules where it comes to like, I can recognize this as an object that I would see day to day, like like a face or some other type of image. Realism will end up on the opposite end of that spectrum where it's much more rigid as far as the rules are concerned. When you have when you draw a person's face, you got to make sure all the shadows are following the same light source. You got to make sure those
Yeah.
eyes work and they're facing the same way. You don't want to work too much with the best example I can give you is a lot of people make the mistake where they're like, well, the whites of your eyes should be white, so I'm going to blast a bunch of white in there, making them the brightest part of the image. When in most images, that's not exactly the case. You will still have the eyes subject to shadows. So there's a lot of discipline and strict structures that go along with realism, which I think is very important for an artist to be able to grasp properly, even if that's not their strong point. That's very rewarding to understand those concepts and be able to execute them the way they should be, as opposed to on the other opposite end of the spectrum, basically just doing whatever the hell you feel like, as long as it as long as it looks good, at least to you or to somebody else. So I feel like it's important for me as an artist to be on both ends of that spectrum and to not just be pigeonholed into one area, but to have a mixture of discipline and liberation on both sides, where I could either use both of them or bounce back and forth, and have a broader palette as an artist.
I see. Yeah, I highly suggest to look his work up on Instagram.
If you
You
want to check
most
me out on Instagram, I'm Fat Uncle Al, FATUNCLEAL,
Mhm.
and I'm nowhere else. I'm just on Instagram. That's it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not educated enough and practiced enough to be able to con contribute to that kind of um
Well, Subasa, how would you describe your own
Mhm.
artwork? You're an artist yourself.
That's true. But like the more and more I got into drawing, I realized, oh, I can't draw shit. Like I can draw and like when you start drawing, you think you can draw, but once you like getting to know the what you said about realistic art, that okay, eyes don't look like that, shadow don't look like that, you realize, okay, I don't know shit. But to answer your question, my art, yeah, I'm into dark shit. Like I would give credit to Edward Gorey. Do you know him?
Not too familiar, no.
He's actually American, but he's a goth looking dude who wrote very dark, depressive picture book for, I wouldn't
Oh
say
yeah.
for kids, but looks like for kids. And I was like maybe 13 or 14 when I found that book at a store. And okay, so for example, he has a book of alphabet like A, B, C. A is for, I don't know. A is for Andrew, he got hit by a truck and died or something. Like
Ah,
every later, have you heard of that stuff?
yep. I'm looking him up, and this looks very familiar.
Yeah. That kind of set it off for me.
That's
He
cool. I
kind
like
of
this stuff.
unleashed me, and I was like, I really resonated with me because I was into I wasn't into that. I was into music that much at the time yet. But I always found dark stuff or evil side of stories fascinating. Even since I was a kid, for example, I didn't like P.L.A.P.A. I always loved pirates and I loved villains instead of heroes. I didn't care for superheroes. I loved bad guys who would do horrible things to you.
Hmm.
As a child, I was kind of like that, and so it was natural for me to, um, yeah, gravitate towards that side of art, I think. And yeah, how about you? What
Well,
did
when
you
it
like
comes
when you were a
to
kid?
when I was a kid,
Yeah.
that's geez, that's kind of hard to say without really taking a step back to put myself in a mindset of when I was a
Mm.
child. Because I guess I, like most people, I would consider that I would have several different formative events where, like, are we talking about me when I was 3? Are we talking about me when I was 8, when I was 12, 16? I don't know. I was always, like, I guess generally to geared towards negativity in artwork. I'd always draw like monsters and violence and stuff like that. And I think
Absolutely.
a lot I concerned a lot of teachers when I was like, "Oh, wow, you're fascinated in art. Let me see what you're drawing." Oh, perhaps you would like to see the counselor. Um, couldn't really tell you more than that.
That's amazing. I
But I
see.
mean, like, I wouldn't consider myself abnormally troubled.
Mm.
Most kids are troubled to a certain degree, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Um,
always had my nose in uh, the more testing of the art themes, things
mm,
where you're not immediately gravitated towards, well, that's a very pleasant thing to look at. I like this pretty picture,
mm,
more as like, can you feel anything else from that?
I see. Now I tattooed a bit, um, and I didn't do traditional Japanese style, but
Hmm.
once I got to know a lot about it, when my teacher taught me a lot of stuff, I just realized I don't know anything about. I don't know shit. Like I'm not good at all because there's so many elements to one style of art. Actually, almost like a rule. For example, there's a rock. If there's a rock, there has to be particularly traditional Japanese style. There has to be a wave in water, and that's one set. I didn't know that. Did you know all about it?
Yeah, I understand.
That kind of stuff, and how there's got to be a reason that rocks is right there. You can't just put rocks over there, and can't be any shape that you feel like it has to be a certain way because of that, or I don't know. It was so much. I wasn't never into traditional Japanese style, but I just realized there's so much to it than I originally thought, and yeah, so that's why I appreciate respect, I guess admire even artists who do work that looks simple, but it's actually very complicated, also meaningful how they compose stuff. So I'm not sure if everybody is like that, but I just realized that when I started doing it, and so yeah, it's I think it's interesting.
Uh, Um, I agree and disagree. When it
Oh, go ahead.
when writing that like you can't have just any shape, and you can't have that rock be just anywhere.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes those rules might be a little too rigid, and sometimes it's
Mm,
up to you as an artist to decide when it's appropriate to break rules.
Right. I see.
Some rules are made to be broken. Some rules are better when they're broken.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, it's entirely up to you. And art is entirely about creation. And if you make it all about following rules, then it becomes stale. And that bothers me when artwork is just like you see you go through an Instagram page, you see an artist only follow rules and not make their own
Yeah,
rules.
that makes sense.
And I'm not criticizing those people in any way, and I'm not saying that those people are wrong. I'm saying that to me it lacks adventure. And I myself as an artist prefer to prefer to experiment, and I don't want to say innovate because I'm not. I don't think I've done anything extraordinarily innovative. But when if I were to, if I were to sit down and think that I have to really only work within a gated perimeter of what I could do with my art, then I think I would quit art.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. This traditional Japanese style stuff is really strict in the way that they try to keep the style going as it's supposed to be. So if you're doing the traditional, I think that's what you do. But yeah, I respect people who would challenge the structure. Yeah, what I was saying is that it's just interesting because I couldn't tell by just looking at and oh, this is how it's done. I didn't know that. So there's certain ways to do it. I didn't realize, and I thought it was interesting.
Absolutely, and Japanese traditionalism is one of those things that really has a deep-seated set of rules that have
Mhm.
cultural significance beyond the understanding of those who normally do those tattoos, or especially those who receive those tattoos.
That's true.
But now is the perfect time to break those boundaries, especially if you're not actually, like, for someone like me who's not actually in Japan. Like, I'm not gonna.
Hmm.
I will very rarely, if I break those rules, I will very rarely have someone confront me and say, "Hey, listen, man, like that's not the way it's supposed to be." Instead, I'll just have someone saying, like, "I like the way that tattoo looks."
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've done some traditional Japanese stuff that is complete bastardizations of the rules, and I've
Mm,
even received some compliments from Japanese people about those bastardizations.
mm. Well, you know.
The one thing
Mhm.
you go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
I was going to say the one thing that I think is that I follow most is learning kanji calligraphy. The
Mm.
the rules involved with brushstrokes translate into Japanese tattooing so beautifully. I love doing brushstrokes in tattooing.
How do you do
It really
that?
gives a. How do I do that? Well, like when I do, obviously you can't naturally do that with a needle, but
Yeah,
with when coming up with the design first, obviously it's done on paper. Well, not
right.
that's not obvious. So many people use computers now.
Okay.
For me, with those designs, I'd prefer to start with paper and
Mm.
then use a calligraphy brush for that, and let the brush decide, well, more or less, what's going to be happening with the ink. And when I use that design to tattoo with, I just kind of simulate what happened on the paper onto somebody's skin.
Yeah, so what needles do you use? Those ones that, okay, I forgot the name, but like the ones that you shade and do the colors.
I believe you're probably speaking of a magnum. Those will be a flat set of 2 layers of needles, usually
Yes,
weaved
yes,
together in like a
yes,
zigzag
those.
formation.
Hmm.
Yeah, those are best used for like filling in large colored areas or large solid areas using black and gray
Mm.
shading, anything like that. But the amazing thing about tattooing, uh, in its relation to any other type of artwork, is that the tools are kind of secondary to how you wish to use them. So you'll see a lot of people using tattoo equipment in a way that others might say like that's kind of counterintuitive. Like people using like a lining needle
Hmm.
to shade a large piece and get like a little speckling effect. You gotta tune your machine a specific way to make that happen.
What?
Um, where other people
Back.
would be like, well, why don't you just why don't you use a mag, or why don't you use a round shader,
Right,
and
right, right.
get that done more efficiently? And that person will be like, well, that doesn't really create the same effect, or it doesn't really translate to the way that I work as an artist. And
Yeah,
through things like
that's it.
these, we breed individuality and difference between each tattooer, and a reason for one person to say, I'd rather go to one tattooer than another. And to me, that's a very beautiful thing.
It sounds like a bit partially it's a bit ritualistic in a way. Even though the effect might be the same, you have your certain way of doing things, and it could be even more. I don't know the word. That's what you're trying to achieve. Then I understand how you do it.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Do you have any other? Well, actually, I want to stick to a tattoo for now, because any
Yeah.
other tattoo artists that you would look up to, or what made you like wanna start doing this, get into this career?
Um, there's some tattooers that I look up to, and I find that every tattooer that I look up to, I end up also kind of disagreeing with them on a large scale, which is
Mm,
in something is kind of fun. There's probably one of my biggest inspirations is a close friend of mine.
really?
His name is Mike Kenny.
Mhm.
Love this dude. As far as his work ethic goes, he's a solid dude. Uh, Mike Kenny tattoos on Instagram. He
Right,
does
okay.
mostly lettering, and his lettering is so inventive, and it really, like, you can't look at his work without thinking this guy loves what he does. And when you speak to him, like, he speaks with such a passion for his work. Like, there is
Mm,
nothing in the world for this guy outside of tattooing. Um, like, obviously that's not entirely true. The guy still likes to, have a good meal and smoke some weed and life's various vices. But if you told this guy for whatever reason he could no longer tattoo, there'd be nothing left for
mm,
him. And when I speak to him personally, I am so astounded with, I don't want to call it his work ethic, but his work drive, the drive for him to tattoo. Like, when he wakes up every day, he goes, I'm gonna go fucking tattoo, and that's what I'm gonna do. There's no dragging his feet into work. Like, this guy is what tattooing really should be. And if you want to ask me, I don't have that. I will
oh,
admit
yeah?
that to you. I do not have what Mike Kenny has.
Mm,
But it really inspires me. The From the moment I met him, it changed the way I tattooed. And
wow,
I'm always so excited when I go to a convention and I see him tattooing. And when I just hear the way he speaks about what he does, like, fuck, man, he found what he wants.
that's
Aside from that, I
amazing.
mean, like, there's also, like anything else, like, there's the people I follow on Instagram, and I've been tattooed by a couple of people that I really look up to, and I think, wow, your work just is so, it's 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 beyond what I would imagine if I hadn't seen it myself.
Mm,
Sometimes I don't agree with them. There's this one guy, Jesse Levitt.
mhm,
I got tattooed by him, and he's got he's got a strange work ethic, and he's it's no different that he's passionate about what he does. He's very passionate about what he does, and he will only do it the way he will do it. And I was asking him, to kind of elaborate more about, like, what kind of artist he is and about how he does the work he does and gets so many clientele to follow in with exactly what he wants to do, because he's rather rigid. He'll do, like, a very small window of things. He'll do biomech, and he'll do skulls and variations of skulls, some monstrosities, sometimes animals, but usually it's biomech, and it's usually, like, very pattern oriented. Um,
huh.
which I got something like that. I got some biomech with some weird eyes in it. And I was like, well, what do you
What's
do when
mhm,
people want something different? And he's like, I
mm,
just ignore them. I just tell them, I don't even tell them, like, that's not what I do. It's like if someone emails me about some
mm,
writing, it's just like they're not even worth me talking to. And I
okay.
go, wow. I mean, like, I would think that, maybe you'd at least have a copy and paste thing where you can send them that says like, "Hi, thank you for reaching out, but unfortunately, this is not the kind of work that I do." He's just like, "Fuck him. I don't give a shit.
Interesting.
Fuck them. They can go fuck themselves." And I don't know exactly if that's exactly how he worded it, but I
I
thought,
see.
"Holy shit, this is I would never even imagine." But
Mm.
just blocking out everything that stands against what you want to be as an artist until you
Ah,
are only yourself as an artist and nothing more.
very interesting.
And
That's
that
what you
was
mean by strange work ethic?
yeah. Yeah,
I
because I
see.
would think that
Mm.
like it's very good for your mental health to block out everything that opposes what you want as an artistic
Um,
path.
I guess.
Right? It's a little bit strange, but at the same time,
Mm.
wouldn't you want to say like for someone like me, I would want to say like I would feel more comfortable at least if people didn't think I was ignoring them,
Mm.
and that you could at least tell somebody like, "Hey, thanks for reaching out, but I'm not the right guy for it."
Yeah. I don't really see the reason for it though. Like it has nothing to do with your work. It's kind of I don't know. It's odd to me,
Yeah, totally.
but yeah, I guess that's what he does. And if you don't like him, then yeah, you don't have to go for him.
And he's
Okay,
he's
I want to
proven
look
that
it
it
up
works for
right
him.
now.
Yeah, Jesselevitt.
Yeah, I found him.
Yeah,
Oh,
his work's
sick.
dope,
It's
and it's even
wow.
gotten so
How
much better since I've
followers.
been tattooed by him.
Oh, my friends follow him too.
Yeah. Oh, he's popular.
Great.
So like, why does
Mm,
like if he's already got it going on and people are seeking him out, then why does he need to cater to people who aren't going to help him do what he needs to do to be this kind of artist?
absolutely. If you reach to that point that you don't have to do whatever you don't want to do, then that's amazing. Um,
Hmm.
and I yeah, I respect this headpiece though with the I don't know if you can see.
Yeah,
It's fucking crazy.
yeah. So
That's
that's
yeah.
like the pattern oriented biomech.
Holy shit. Yeah, I'm not exposed to this side of tattoo. So very interesting. And for the longest time you didn't have tattoo yourself. I remember like the first tattoo you got was like several years ago.
I got my first tattoo maybe a year after you went back to Japan. So my first tattoo was 2014.
Mhm.
Um, and there's
What's up
kind of
with
a
that?
reason behind there's kind of a reason behind
Yeah.
that. Um, for for the
Interesting.
longest time, no, I couldn't find any artists who I really aligned with, and
Mm.
I couldn't really agree with the artists that were exposed to me early on in my tattooing career. So I was tattooing for 4 years, um, without ever finding someone whose tattoos worked with me. And then eventually, actually, I made the wrong choice when I got my first tattoo. Actually, let me take that back. Let's say I'm lying about that. I think I made the right choice, but it didn't work out for me properly. There was this
Mm.
guy, his name is KT, and he's from Tokyo. He was visiting Toronto for the tattoo convention in 2014, and
Right.
he does realism almost exclusively. Like he does draw a couple things, but it's mostly just realism. And on his page, there are loads of examples of him doing just an eye, like an eyeball, like
Mhm.
with eyelid, eyelashes, like just the whole thing. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna go with that. I already know he can do a wicked job.
Mm.
I get him to tattoo me at the convention, and I don't know what his deal was. If he was tired, or if he didn't care, or if he was just like scraping time and trying to fit in as many people as he could, or something like that. He didn't do a very good job. He did a pretty shitty
Oh,
job, actually, in my opinion. And he was not very good with the health and safety. And I would like to, if we could get back onto health and safety sometime later in our podcast, that's very important to me as far as
absolutely.
tattooing. He cross contaminated. He told me he would show me some designs, and he never did. He just kind of drew some stuff on with a pen, and then just went right at it without getting my approval for that. And I
Huh.
ended up with a sloppy tattoo. It healed terribly. It doesn't look very good, but
Horrible.
I'm as much as I hate that tattoo and I kind of think like, what the fuck was wrong with you at that time? Um, I ended up with a lesson in tattooing that is very valuable. That I know firsthand the feeling of having a bad tattoo and having a tattoo where I think, holy shit, this is permanent. And now what the fuck am I gonna do? I didn't want this. I wanted something better than that.
I
So
see.
perfect the perfect lesson for someone who is tattooing other people to know what like not that I was giving people bad tattoos at any time intentionally. When I started out, obviously I wasn't as good as I am now, but
Mm.
like to know how important it is for an individual not to be let down on their expectations of a tattoo.
Oh yeah. I mean,
So
when
it
I saw
didn't.
that tattoo, it's on your leg, right?
Yeah, it's like on the outside of my ankle,
Hmm. I
like
remember
maybe the
thinking
size
it's
of a cell
cool.
phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought so.
So
Well, like it's
yeah, yeah. I remember
it's
well,
okay, but
but
it
at the time,
doesn't meet my expectations.
but that's amazing that the first tattoo you got taught you that lesson. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we can get
Hey, can we
into
take
the
a small break?
topic of the. Huh?
Small break? Bathroom?
But yeah, go ahead. I
Ah,
guess I'll
okay.
go
Thank
too
you.
then. No problem.
Yeah. Good timing.
Hey, we back at the same time. I'm gonna cut the ping pot. I'm gonna cut the ping pot so it's gonna sound like we just peed real quick.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
Yeah.
And back at the same time.
Of course.
Hmm.
Do you remember what you were going to say?
Yeah, you wanted to talk about health and what did you say?
Health
About
and safety.
cleanliness, health and safety. Please
Yes.
talk about it.
To start, just for perspective for anyone listening who thinks that like maybe a minor infection might not be that big of a deal and what does it matter if you don't wash your hands?
What infection?
Um, Infection.
Okay,
Like
infection.
so like let's say you're at a factory and you have regulations that say that you can't wear a ring, like a wedding ring, while you're working with machines, and you
Mm,
say that's not a big deal. I'll just be careful. And then next thing you know, when your back is turned or when you're not really paying that much attention, you get your finger degloved. Go ahead and Google that if you're not familiar with degloving. It's when, like, let's say a machine catches your ring and it pulls the skin off of the bone on your finger, and you don't have a finger anymore.
that's metal.
It's pretty metal, but it's goddamn nasty.
Mm,
So I want people to be thinking about this when they think that health and safety regulations are important, because so
mm,
many people don't think health and safety regulations are important. Like people who say like, if I'm going in on a Friday and I don't really care, I won't even wear my steel toe boots. I'll just go in sneakers so that I can go straight to the bar after or whatever,
oh,
without being uncomfortable. I mean, that's you can still drop something on your foot on a Friday. Uh, Health and safety is a seriously overlooked aspect of tattooing. So many people's apprenticeship ends with a footnote of health and safety, like, hey, just make sure that you maybe wash your hands sometimes and don't use a needle twice. It's
mhm,
about as much as some people get. I've done some guest spots in other shops where, like, they have one sink and it's in the basement, and I go, well, how do you wash your hands? And they're like, just wash your hands at the end of the day. I'm like, no, I'm going every time I change my gloves, I'm going downstairs to the basement,
mm,
and washing my hands there, and I think it's a pile of shit. And I come back up and there's ink splatter all over the floor, and they're like, yeah, whatever, it's all over my pants, and like, yeah, I'll just touch it without that being a cross contamination hazard. And it's
wow.
um a lot of people kind of don't understand that you can still transmit infections, both viral and bacterial, just through touch and through small microscopic traces of blood that you won't normally be able to see. So, like,
Mm,
let's say you go and put a bandage on your client with no gloves on. And you're like, all I'm doing is touching the skin around the tattoo, neglecting the fact that you've already made contact with that area by wiping during the tattoo process, and there are still contaminants on that person's skin. I could go on and on about the ways that a person could neglect health and safety, and people end up with infections and not really understand what they have. They're like, oh, I guess I just kind of have a rash. I must have been exposed to poison ivy or something like that. And you've got a methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus infection, something that's going
What?
to take a very so this one is really fucked up because this is a type of infection that not many people are really very familiar with. And you
Okay.
can actually get it by tattooing using tap water instead of distilled water, like when you're watering down your inks for making gray washes, or like to clean your needle between colors and stuff like that.
Right.
If the water, yeah, if the water you're using isn't sterile, then it can contain infections that basically have come about um, because of overuse of antibiotics. So, a staph infection, Staphylococcus aureus, normally is treated with antibiotics, but then through multiple years of antibiotic abuse, then like organisms like that can become immune to that, or like try to mutate to become resistant to that. So there is a specific type of staph infection called methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, which I'm probably mispronouncing that. You get that out of a fucking textbook. But
Mm-hmm.
the scary thing about that is when you catch that infection, you might have that for like 6 to 8 months, and you can't do anything about it. What are you going to use? Antibiotics? It's
Yeah.
resistant to antibiotics. So
Now, mhm,
go ahead.
is there a way to, when you get a tattoo, is there a way to know if this studio is practicing the good safe measurement or not? Can you
I'm
tell
glad
me
you
some
asked that.
tips? Mm-hmm.
That is an absolutely exceptional question, because the answer is you're fucked. So you're gonna every shop is gonna have to be approved by the health board, depending on what kind of region you're tattooing in. So
Right.
the region that I tattoo in, Peel region, the health board, they'll call you ahead of time. They'll say, hey, check it out. We're gonna come in like Thursday or something around like 1:30. We're gonna do a health inspection. So then you're like, okay, I'll know to expect you right then. And then they get a shop meeting. Hey, everybody, make sure Thursday at 1:30, everybody actually wear your gloves. Let's everyone refill your soaps.
Fuckers.
Actually use a machine bag this time. Like, you normally don't want to do that, but this time pretend that you do it all the
Mm,
time. And so they put on a
interesting.
big show when the health board shows up. Health board shows up, and we're like, look, we follow all the rules. And they're like, wow, yeah, you pass. You get health board
Approved.
approval. And you get a little
Uh,
fucking sign on the front of your
Bullshit.
shop that says we do our job properly. And as soon as health board's gone, you go back to being a fucking
Mm,
slob. So you can't always trust the health board approval.
I
Um, when
see.
it comes when it comes down to a client's responsibilities, unfortunately, a client is the only way they're going to know is if they go and take a pathogens course, and they're not that expensive. Like, I think the one in Toronto you can take for $100. Um,
what? What
just
course?
a pathogens course. So dealing with it's a health and safety course for bloodborne pathogens and other infections resulting in tattooing and other close personal care.
Okay.
Um, the client's just going to have to know the material. That's it. Like, a client's not going to know when a tattooer is supposed to do what kind of materials they're supposed to be using, what kind of protective equipment they're supposed to be using for their equipment or for their personal self. Um,
Oh,
they're kind of just going to have to be a
mhm.
tattooer. Otherwise, everything's all
So
in the tattooer's hands.
so you have to. So if you're getting a tattoo, you have to take this course.
Well, you don't have to, but if you want to make sure that your tattooer is following the rules, it's your only way to
Oh.
guarantee that everything's going to be done properly. Because otherwise, you're just
Ah,
going
I
to
see.
trust
I
your
see.
tattooer and they'll do whatever the hell they feel like. And in my
Ah, interesting.
experience observing people tattooing, the vast majority of the time, someone is going to be breaking some kind of rule that could result in an infection, whether bacterial or viral, whether treatable or permanent.
Wow, very good to know.
It's scary. It's scary as fuck. That's one of the reasons I'm not completely covered in tattoos, because there's so many people I don't trust.
Wow, I
There's been
see.
loads of times where I'm ready to book with somebody, and then they post a picture of them clearly cross-contaminating and showing everybody, but not even thinking twice about like, yeah, like I don't cover my equipment, like I'm gonna splatter a client's blood all over my chair, and you can still see those residual splatters from 20 customers ago.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
So
That's
that
awesome. I see.
not many
Awesome
people
to know.
do. It's heartbreaking. Um,
You would
fuck
say most of
sometimes.
people.
No, I say most people because obviously not all people, but
Yeah,
tattooing
yeah.
tattooing is a profession that is so poorly regulated. I'm not going to say it's unregulated because it's tightly regulated, but it's poorly tightly regulated.
I see.
Do whatever the fuck you want. Once the health board is gone, then just do your own thing.
Mm.
And that's what most people do. Their own thing. And hey, I'm not trying to say that this is a filthy industry. I'm going to say a lot of corners of it definitely are. I'm going to say some people break
Mm.
a few rules, some people break more rules, and some people you can trust with your life. And some people will do their job the way they're supposed to, and
Hmm.
you cannot criticize a single thing they do. But you can't say that for everybody. You cannot.
I see. Well, at least I can trust you.
Thanks, dude.
Trust Allan.
You can trust me. I'm going to tell anyone listening here that I I will quit my job if you catch me cross contaminating.
Yes, he's gonna seppuku.
Yes, I will fucking put a sword through my gut and I'll twist it around in a little L shape. And I'll write myself a little note, tells everybody, I cross contaminated. That's all that we'll say on my suicide note.
That's amazing. Um, cool. Great information. Now, what's the tattoos that you hate getting requests of?
Um, it's not so much the tattoos themselves, but it's the mentality behind them.
Cool.
We'll
Go ahead.
have if someone comes in and they it's clear to me based on the short conversation that we have that they're only deciding on their
Mhm.
tattoo because somebody else has it, or they want a tattoo and they're indecisive and they just googled some tattoos and they're like, sure, I guess I'll pick the first thing that comes up. Or people who
Mm.
want to be cool, or people who want to fit in somewhere. Anyone who gets a tattoo that's not
What?
because they want that tattoo, really, it's kind of sour. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Why don't I just tattoo anything else?
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
What do you mean by getting a tattoo to make yourself fit somewhere? What's the example of that? I don't know.
I can give you a couple of really loose examples, but I can give
Mhm.
you one
All
anecdote
right.
that I think was rather troubling to me, and this was kind of a little bit of a turning point in my attitude as a tattooer.
Sounds
Um,
fun. Go ahead.
there was a young gentleman that came in once, and he wanted a tattoo that I really should have said no to. Um, he said he wanted a Crip tattoo, so like the gang. So it
Mm,
said
mm.
Dacrip, DACRIP, and it had a little crown on it. I don't know how many points are supposed to be, 3 or 5, one of the two.
Oh.
And he wanted it on his ass, and it was clear to me that this guy wasn't a real gangster. He was just a troubled teen. And
Oh.
like I wasn't at a position to really say no to anybody at that point. So I did the tattoo for him. And then
Mm.
he came back a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two later, and he told me like, "Hey, I regret this tattoo. I want it covered." And at the time, I said like, "I'm really not interested in covering my own tattoos." And that was the wrong answer for me. I really regret giving him that answer. My point of view at the time was, you made your bed, you lie in it, and that's wrong. I should have given that
Well,
person the opportunity to recognize that they made a mistake and go back on it. Luckily, somebody
sure.
else at the shop decided like, no, I'll cover that. Like, I feel bad for this dude. I'll cover it. And so he got the tattoo covered up, and it wasn't a problem. But after that, I really looked at myself and I said, I could do better. I could do better as a tattooer. First off, I needed to. This person didn't need a tattoo to begin with. They needed some guidance. They needed to be told like you don't need to do this in order to fit in. You're trying to make the wrong friends. I can only guess what
I see.
happened when he left with this tattoo. I can only guess that maybe he was trying to fit in with the group, and they said like, "Oh, just because you got a tattoo doesn't mean you're one of us. Like you don't fit in here. Like go fuck yourself." And then after he got
Mhm.
that answer, he goes, "Oh, well, geez, I made the wrong choice." Um, that's fair. Just the other day, like the last
Hmm.
tattoo I did this just yesterday was I covered up a dude's girlfriend's name, and I did that tattoo too. When he came in, he wanted the one of his girlfriend's name tattooed, and I'm like, sure, whatever, pay me. And now he turns out it was a toxic relationship, and he wanted that covered, so I did that for him.
I
So there's
see.
always there's always room for growth um in your perspective or your value systems with tattooing. And for someone who kind of says "fuck you, you're on your own," which I
Mm.
think might have been me at that time, there's time to change that.
Right. When was that mentality changed?
Oh, this might have been like 6 years ago, something like that.
Okay. Hmm. Any other funny story that involves tattooing?
Well, this isn't a funny story, but just to continue on with your point,
Okay.
like a lot of people come in and they just say, "I want a tattoo. Tattoos are cool. My friends have tattoos, and I think they're cool. I just want to get the standard." So they'll pick, depending on
Standard.
their demographic, they'll pick just whatever fits into their demographic. So they're not
Mm.
necessarily getting a tattoo that they want. They're getting a tattoo that they think will fit them in and make them cool. And then they can show their friends and say, "Hey, look, look, I wasn't lying. I'm actually cool. I went through with it and I did this thing." And I don't agree with that. I don't think that's very cool.
Sounds kind of lazy.
It's
Mm.
lazy, it's thoughtless, it's impatient, it's shallow. That's how I feel about it, It's like I could be wrong.
Yeah.
The tattoos that I get don't
Mm.
necessarily align with everybody else.
Mm. Yeah. I can't really understand that. But yeah, last time I saw you, you talked about I remember you talking about the Jews getting lion tattoos, and he's telling me what
Oh,
was that?
okay. So
I
yeah,
learned.
I'd love to talk about people with lion tattoos because there's a
Please.
mentality that comes with it. Um, to add to that, more commonly enough, that fits with this is the lion with the crown. So a lot of
Lion with a crown.
the lion is symbolic to a lot of people because it's the king of the jungle. So a lot of people might have some sort of conflict or complex, whether it be their ego or whether it be they wish they would climb the social ladder a little higher, or people who wish they were doing better with their career, people who wish they're just doing better in life than they are, or who think they're doing better in life than they are, or who think they're cooler or more important than other people. It's a hierarchy thing. Like it's trying to fake their place in the hierarchy. So they get a
Mhm.
king tattoo, like I'm king, I'm better than other people, I'm at
I'm
the
the
top, I'm an
shit.
apex predator. And I think that mentality is kind of poisonous. Like you really want to brand yourself with that mentality that like I'm number one, even though I'm not. And when the people come in, like they have, like I'm not speaking 100% about all people. If you're listening to this and you've got a lion tattoo and that's not the way you thought about it, then I'm sorry for saying that about you. Because there are loads of exceptions. Some people might get it just because they think lions are cool, or some people might align it with their Leo horoscope, or someone might have had a formative experience at a safari. But for the people who come in and they get a tattoo because I'm tough shit and I want to show everybody I'm tough shit without doing anything in my life to prove it, you make me sick. And I'm not going to say that to your face when I'm tattooing. I'm just going to collect your money. But like, it's kind of sour doing a tattoo that isn't because that person wants like I
Yeah.
don't know how to put it, like like a tattoo that I guess would be appropriate to get. Like I would consider beefing up your image artificially to be a very shallow and sour and self-depreciating way to tattoo yourself. And just
Yeah.
that's an opinion of mine.
No, I I think it's funny. I agree because, and I'm so impressed by the wording, like the words you what comes out of your mouth, because Like you
Thanks.
express things that so clearly and precisely precise.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you
Yeah.
telling me that and like, big stuff, get over yourself. And I was like, get over yourself. That's when I learned the expression, get over yourself. And I thought it was
Yeah.
hilarious. And I started
I
using that all the time.
I'm so happy about that, man. I love that phrase. Get over yourself. Some people really need to get over
Oh,
themselves.
I love it too.
Get knocked down a peg. Now you were asking about like
Absolutely.
anecdotes. You want to hear some funny anecdotes about tattooing, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
All right, let's start off with one of my favorite stories. So I was tattooing a girl, and so in the tattooing process, there is a propylene glycol solution that you apply to the skin to apply a stencil. If you've ever seen a tattoo being done, you'll see that they apply like a purple stencil. It doesn't always have to be purple, but it's a stencil that goes onto the skin, which is the design that you've already worked with, and you use
Mhm.
that as the framework for your tattoo when you proceed. So there's a goo that you put on the person's skin, you rub that in, and you apply the stencil. So
Okay.
I'm rubbing that goo into this girl's leg, and and she goes, "Hey, what's that? Is that a numbing cream?" And I go, "No, no, no. This is just a stencil solution. This is going to bind the stencil to the skin so that like when I apply the stencil, like it's going to stick." And she goes, "Oh, okay,
Right.
okay, okay, cool." And so I take the stencil and I apply it to her skin. And I'm rubbing it in, and then she goes, "Oh, so that cream you were using, that's is that a numbing cream?" And I go, "Nope. Once again, that's just a stencil solution. So the stencil that I'm applying, that will help it bind to the skin to actually apply." She goes, "Oh, okay, 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 cool." So I take the stencil off so she can see it on her skin. She goes, checks it out in the mirror. I told her to check out the placement. She's like, "Oh yeah, 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 perfect, perfect." "So that cream you were using, that's like a numbing cream, right?" And I go, "Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
that's a numbing cream. That's exactly what that is." So we get into the tattoo. We get like 15 minutes into it, and she goes, "Wow, that numbing cream really works." She was
What's
kind of
this
annoyed.
fucking obsession of creams with her? I'm not sure.
She just wasn't listening. She really wanted numbing cream, and it wasn't working out for her.
Numbing to ease the pain.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So there like technically is a numbing cream you can use, but I don't recommend it for my clients.
Oh
A
yeah.
couple of reasons. Yeah, and anyone listening to this who's thinking they want a tattoo but they don't want it to hurt, unfortunately the answer for you is just to suck it up and you're gonna have to earn it.
Tough it up.
So some artists will let you use it. They're cool with it. So there's it's a lidocaine topical anesthetic. Lidocaine is the active ingredient in Bactine. So with this cream, you're supposed to apply it, you rub it in the skin, and then you seal it up so that the cream doesn't like evaporate or dissipate or like absorb. And then the cream is supposed to stay on for like an hour or so, even more if you
Mm.
want it to work longer. And then when you go into tattooing, the it being soaked in that cream for long enough is going to change the consistency of the skin, and it's going to get like kind of doughy. It's almost like
Oh.
the best analogy I can use is if you try to use a pencil to draw a picture on a piece of pizza dough, it just doesn't go in.
Ah.
It's like kind of soft and gushy, and like it's very hard to work with. It can happen, but it's very hard.
I see. I
It makes my
see.
job harder. And on top of that, once it does wear off, because it'll only last maybe from 15 minutes to a half hour. Once it does
Oh
wear
yeah.
off, the nerves become a lot more sensitive, and it becomes more painful for the client. I had one client who she got the top of her foot tattooed, pretty much the whole thing, and it was a several-hour session, and she was very uncomfortable. It was a rather painful experience for her, which can be expected for a tattoo, but she held it
Mm-hmm.
together. And it was like we got through it. She just like, ooh, that kind of pain. So the next time she got her other foot tattooed, basically the same scale, same time period. And she was like, well, that was uncomfortable last time. So I didn't even ask you. I'm just going to go ahead and use numbing cream. And so she did.
Oh.
She used numbing cream. And we get about half hour into the tattoo and then she starts feeling it again. She starts feeling it more. And
Mm.
by like a half hour after that, she's soaked in tears. She's clutching the chair for dear life. She's in so much pain. It
Oh
seems
god.
like not even much more than just twice as painful as the last time. Like this is unbearable for her. It put her in a state of hysteria that I very rarely see with clients, and it was because she used the numbing cream. So if you kind
Wow.
of
Good
like
to
you
know.
kind of get what you deserve, you're trying to cheat your way out of the pain of the tattoo, and it's going to bite you in the ass. So I just tell people
True
not to use it
that.
altogether.
Well, if you want hardship, maybe you can do it, but don't involve tattoo artists. Try to work on it properly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. Do you get a lot of Japanese tattoos and you make sure that's right, or you just go ahead?
No. So I don't get a lot of Japanese tattoos to start with, and
Mm,
um, when when you do a consultation with a client, you might find that they don't even really know themselves, and
yeah.
it like they might try to include some things that just there's no way that you could um, stick with the traditional fundamentals of Japanese tattooing while you're like incorporating like an infinity sign with the kids' names in a Japanese tattoo. So I mean, like in a lot of cases, if you want like someone who really wants the fundamentals, I would say if it's so important to you, you might want to find someone who values those fundamentals more than I do.
Mm,
But with a lot of people, you really have no choice but to break the rules. And there really is going to be no police coming around telling you that you did the Japanese tattoo wrong in Canada. So
so far, yeah.
I've done some Japanese tattoos that like to me they look cool. And they might
Mm.
have a varying degree of authenticity, but you're getting it from a Canadian dude. So you're not getting authenticity even if I tried really, really hard.
Oh, what I meant was like words, letters, and stuff.
Oh,
Not
that.
the actual.
Yeah.
Sorry, not
Oh,
actually the traditional style.
yeah. Okay, I misunderstood you. Yeah. So there's one story that you're involved with. I don't know
What?
if you remember. Several years ago, there was a guy who come into the shop, and uh, he wants a tattoo on his arm that says "Being human is exhausting," and he wants it.
Ah,
Yeah, he wants it in
cool.
Japanese, and I was like,
Mm.
well, he showed me a picture. He's like, I looked it up online, and this is what it says, and he
Mm.
showed me two kanji. And I go,
Mhm.
oh, this doesn't really work out. Why would two kanji be a complex sentence that full? But I
Okay.
don't understand the kanji. They were really complex. And like I've consider myself a beginner when it comes to Japanese, especially in the literacy aspect. So
True.
I said, listen, I don't understand this kanji. Let me ask my buddy, and we'll come back to it.
Mhm.
And so I asked you, and I said, like, here, this guy has this kanji, and he says it says being human is exhausting. What do you think of this? And you said that doesn't make any goddamn sense, but I don't understand this kanji either. It was rather complex.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you looked it up, and after a bit, you discovered that it was the name of a character from an anime about girls who go shopping. You remember
What
this?
the fuck? I remember
Yeah,
something like that.
it was a slice of life
Yeah.
kind of anime where girls just get together and they go shopping and they have fun and nothing bad ever happens. So I go, all
What
right,
happened there? Yeah.
right. I could only guess one of two things. One would be he really sucked at looking this up and that he didn't get what he looked up, or
Mm.
he was lying to me and he's like a secret otaku and he loves this show and he really wants this character's name tattooed on
Wow.
him and won't
I
admit
didn't
it
know
to
that.
me.
I didn't
It
think of
was a
that, you
guess.
know?
It was a guess.
Mm.
Well, like I could understand being embarrassed about that kind of thing, and if you show someone something in a different language, what do they know any better? So,
True.
so with your help, I was able to come up with something that I could confirm that was the correct "being human is exhausting," which ended up being more of a full sentence and covered up a larger area than he wanted.
I figured.
And I had that prepared. But when he came in, I said, you know what? Like I'm gonna make sure he feels comfortable in case he actually wants the anime girl's name. Because
Right.
I don't want him to feel like, gotcha, now you gotta cringe. When he came
Ah.
in, I told him like, hey man, it's cool with me if you want an anime girl's name tattooed on you, like that's fine. Like you don't have to be embarrassed about that. There's nothing embarrassing about that. Like it's all good. And he goes, no, 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 no. That's not what I want. I don't want the anime character's name. I want being human is exhausting. And I go, okay, well, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to take up more space. And he's like, that's totally fine with me. And that's the tattoo we did.
Oh, there you go. It
We did
worked
being
out.
human is exhausting. I believe it was ningen no koto ga tsukareteiru. Does that sound right?
Ah, well, it could be a bit different, but I mean, yeah,
I might be misremembering
something
that
like
and
that.
screwing it up a bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure I told you something that makes sense.
I know I asked you and that I got your approval before I tattooed on him.
Good. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I have some tattoo friends, and they would ask me. And my best friend from Canada is her partner is tattooer, and
Mhm.
sometimes they ask me, and I'm glad to help.
You're
So
doing people a good
good.
service by helping them. Because there's
Yeah,
so many
which
people getting the wrong stuff out there.
man, that's funny too. So I don't want to completely destroy that side of tattoo culture, but
And then it's a little bit troubling when you see somebody who's already got the tattoo wrong. And like it's already on their body, but it's incorrect. And for me, I don't want to break that person's expectations of what they have on their tattoo. Like I don't want to say like, "Hey man, your tattoo's wrong," if they didn't know any better to start
yeah,
with. I don't want to be the one to break that to them. Let them live with it if no one else is going to notice. I was at a
yeah, it's
rock
not your
festival.
responsibility to tell them.
Right. So I was at a rock festival a couple years ago. I love this story. I'm glad you reminded me about this. I wanted to tell this story. So
Okay,
I
okay,
saw
go ahead.
two people with some kanji tattoos. The first
Yeah.
guy, I saw like right on the top of his shoulder, totally visible. He had the kanji for tree, um, and
Sure.
it's a simple kanji, very recognizable. There's no way that I could have got that
Mm.
wrong. It's the kanji for tree. Only a couple of strokes. So I went up to him and I was like, "Hey, dude, cool tattoo." And he's like, "Awesome, thanks, man." And I'm like, "That's tree, right?" And he goes, "What?" And I go, your tattoo, it says tree, doesn't it?" And he goes, "No, dude,
Uh-oh.
that's the sign of the dragon." And I felt
Oh
so
my
bad. And then I
god.
was like, "Oh, yeah, you're right, man. My mistake. Yeah, it says dragon. That's so cool, dude." And he was like, "Yeah." And
You're
then I
just like,
thought like,
"Yeah,
and I was like, "Okay, let's all right, let's leave him with that."
let's take it
And then
easy with that."
like maybe the next day or like a couple hours later or something like that, the same festival, I saw another dude with a tattoo that I thought must have been the same situation. He had the tattoo
Oh
for
my
girl
god.
on him,
Huh?
which once again, a very simple tattoo, just a couple of strokes. It says girl.
What's it?
And I thought, oh,
Goal.
girl, yeah. And I thought I'm gonna approach this one a little differently. I'm not gonna tell him what I think it says. And I went up to the dude and I was like, "Hey man, cool tattoo, dude." He's like, "Yeah, thanks." I'm like, "What does it say?" And he goes, "Girl," and he gives me the thumbs up, and he's so excited about it. I'm like, "Wicked, man, that's a cool tattoo."
Oh, wow. That's pretty funny. It's funny that you
Yeah,
found 2 people with the same kind of stuff and they had it differently.
yeah,
Ah, yeah, we
yeah.
have a
I
lot
miss
of
rock.
tattoo stories with the wrong kanjis, and there's no end if you try to
Do
look
you have any
into
funny
that side of
stories like
tattoo
that?
culture. I don't, but there was a guest that I had last time. She told me about this dude who had so his nickname is Big Daddy,
Hmm.
and I think he was her coworker or something. He asked her or she told him like what was this tattoo say, and she said Pat father. And he got offended, like, "No, this is Big Daddy," and got mad at her. Like, what what the fuck do you expect her to do? I mean,
Fat
it's not the
fuck.
best story, but yeah, we have all kinds of, like, stuff. Oh, mm, I have a funny English and Japanese shared stories. I had a
Oh,
well, I work at a very famous historical site in Japan, and I have a
Himeji
lot of
Castle.
oh, you said it. Yeah, who cares? Himeji Castle. I work at a Himeji Castle.
Oh,
If you're
did
listening
you
to this
not want that to
podcast,
be
come
public
hit me up.
knowledge?
You know what? I don't really care. It's just
Um,
mysterious to say I work at a castle in Himeji. It's obvious, but
sorry, dude.
no, I don't care. I don't give a shit. But they came to this is so one dude was sitting down and tried to tie his shoelace, and he had a white shirt in the back with bold, thick ass font in red that says no sexual service. I was doing my job. I had to take a picture. I took it. That was amazing. And another guy, which I like most, was this dude with Back to the Future shirt. But instead of Back to the Future, it says "fuck to the world."
Okay, yeah.
Well, he was aware of what he was wearing, so that I like that. And there's a
Oh yeah.
shop that this chain shops that high school kids go. That's called We Go, and they have a lot of I wouldn't say wrong, but like some kind of a little bit off English sentences, just a little bit
Yeah.
slightly off. Sometimes it's a bit
Uh-huh.
weird too, but yeah. So a lot of friends of mine go there and buy those shirts. I couldn't think of an example, but Elise knows all about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Uh,
a acquaintance. He's from Canada too, and he collects a Japanese shirt that says something like "I haven't slept well" or "I look scary, but I'm actually nice" and stuff. And that's how he makes friends with locals.
oh yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I wanted to ask you about your music project that you did last year. That What was the process
Yes.
of that, and how did you come about doing it? I was actually impressed by um, your skill of editing the music. I mean, the music itself is not my cup of tea, but I really enjoyed it, especially lyrics. Yeah, please
Thank you.
talk about it.
Excellent. Oh, thank you so much for asking. So that was a
Of
project I
course.
started back in 2007.
Really?
And it's amazing to hear that you liked my editing because
Mm,
when I worked on
yeah.
it before, it was a total pile of garbage. And I even just recently went and gave it another listen, and I thought, holy shit, how was I so deaf not to understand how muddy and poorly produced this sounds?
Mm,
So maybe that helped me, pull up my pants and get make some actual improvements with making music. So I
mm.
put the project down like after maybe 2011 was the last time I actually made any music. But at the start of the this pandemic here, I began to become much more misanthropic than I actually am, and I would consider
Sorry,
myself
what's misanthropic?
misanthropic is disdain for humanity. So a hatred for human beings and the realization that humans
Oh,
are so deeply flawed that there really is no there
mm,
there there it's a hopeless cause for
good
humanity.
word. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
In this case, like I needed something a bit more screamy, let's say. And I'm not going to say my music is super screamy, just like a little abrasive.
Pretty
So
violent
I
too.
decided to dust off my old guitar and like just kind of dick around and see where it takes me. And I decided I would I'd revive the old project. I'd do another That album. It'd be the second That album, released in 20 March 2021, I think it was.
What?
It's all independent. Just me with a guitar and programming and vocals. I don't put any bass in there. Instead, I try to use synths for the bass, or I try to just mix it differently so that I can fulfill that side of the audio spectrum. I would consider my production to be amateur and uneducated, but just tried to make it sound good for me. I use the internet as a resource for like some basic troubleshooting. But
Mhm,
when it came down to it, really the only reason for me to make the music was expression. I just
mm,
I am very upset with the collective response to a worldwide emergency, and that so many people, their mentality is "fuck you, I don't need to help out, I don't need to cooperate. If anything, I'm going to make things worse." just because I
Mm,
feel like it as an individual and I don't want to help. And I thought, ooh, that makes me sick to my goddamn stomach. And
I see.
so, like, a mix of it is um, expression. A mix of it is just like distaste. But when it I also kind of wanted to fit with my original model, and my original model was to have like a character. It's kind of a concept project. This character, Gland Branley, who is just he is the embodiment of the nastiness of humanity. Glenn Branley just only takes joy in the suffering of others. He's a drug using alcoholic. He's a bigoted, uh, a terrible piece of shit human being. So
Mhm.
with that, I have songs like
I
"You
have a
Little
list
Shit,"
right now.
which is about a person who has Glenn Branley has a crush on this single mom, but he tried to approach her and she didn't reciprocate. So he decided that it wasn't because he was a piece of shit and he approached her like a predator. It was simply because she has this child who's getting all her affection. So the child needs to be done away with. Get rid of the child and then she will love this character, which is the
Mhm.
wrong idea. And somehow some real life human beings actually have that point of view. So it's a
True.
fictional story about just like a really shitty, selfish, and antagonistic point of view. But
That's
then
actually one of my
also,
favorite songs
thank you. Um, and then there are other
also.
songs that are kind of more just playful, like I'm actually having fun, and other songs uh, like Gotta Pick One to Slurp is one of my favorites. It expresses a hypothetical in which if you had a gun to your head and you had to decide whether you would slurp up a glob of cat cum or you would lick up a puppy's pussy, which would be the one that you choose. You gotta pick one to slurp. That
Amazing.
that was much more just me having fun.
It's fucking creative that.
Thank you. So
Um,
if you wanna check out that, bandcamp.com/that hurts. Check it out. You don't have to. Don't worry about paying me. I don't give a shit. Just if you like it, you like it. If not, then just bother somebody.
I paid you $6 66 cents, I think.
Thank you
Did I
so
do
much. I
that?
really appreciate that. You're a true fan. You're
Of
exemplary
course,
fan.
I'm a true fan. Yeah, you already talked about your little shit because that I listed as my favorite one because the lyrics was so fucking hilarious and
Oh, thank you.
out over the top. And my second one, another one would be this track produced pollution.
Right. The
Uh,
human's footprint
different.
uh
Mm,
on the earth. Beer
mm,
cans at the park, broken glass in the school, needles Austrian about litter is really cool. My
yeah,
favorite lyric from
got
that one, I hope a deer
okay.
chokes on my used plastic fork.
Fuck sea turtles.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
that. That's amazing. Cause like this type of music reminds me of Anal Cunt. I'm not sure if you're into that, but
Anal Cunt is one of my favorite bands because of
oh,
their
see,
band model.
but the difference, like, see, like you know, they're just taking piss out of people, but like the difference is you kind of like put in things that you think is disgusting, but Anal Cunt is just doing that to trigger people. I guess you're doing that too, huh?
Well, most of these themes, like actually the pollution thing, pollution is one thing that really disgusts me. If I'm outside
Right,
and I see
exactly.
somebody just throwing their Tim Hortons cups, then like if I
Mm,
am able to walk up to them without them driving away, then like I will.
there
Um,
you go.
but with anal cunt, their aim is to just disgust others, and it doesn't matter
True.
how they feel. I still don't know personally as a fan what their opinion truly is.
That's
Like
true.
Seth Putnam has said that he has a disdain for reading in general, but I don't even know if that's real. He's probably just putting on a show. If
Yeah,
you don't mind, can I talk about one of my favorite albums ever by Anal Cunt? I mean,
please.
one of my favorite albums ever. It just happens to be by Anal Cunt. It's called Picnic of Love.
Oh.
So Anal Cunt as a band, obviously, yeah, they're a
Mhm.
grindcore band, and their model is to be as offensive as absolutely possible. So after a certain
Uh,
number of of albums where
Mm-hmm.
the material is enough to get a person suspended from school for wearing a T-shirt or listening to it out loud or anything like that.
Absolutely.
You attract people who are looking for that kind of thing, just like me, who finds offensive humor to be quite effective. Like I love offensive humor; it's hilarious. So you get
Yeah.
grindcore fans who are like, "What's the next offensive thing? What nasty thing are you gonna say next?" And they're like, "Well, maybe we want to offend you now. Maybe you're the one who
Yeah.
deserves to be upset." So they made Picnic of Love. It's a bunch of acoustic
Ah.
falsetto love songs. Songs like "I
Mm.
respect your feelings as a woman and a human."
Woman.
Greed is something we don't need. I want to take your daughter's hand in marriage. Waterfall wishes. Stuff like this. Stuff where like a grindcore fan isn't going to be cool with that. And I think that is so
Ah.
beautiful. Fuck our own fans.
Yeah, they talk shit about their fans all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They hate everybody. You know what they
Yeah.
like though? There's certain things that they like. The only things they like is the band. Actually, my favorite band, Slapshot. They love Slapshot and they love
You're wearing their shirt now.
Buck Cherry. Yeah, I'm wearing a shirt. Fucking shout
Yeah.
out to Slapshot, best friend. And
Wicked.
yeah, these guys are pretty hilarious too. And they love anal cunt, but they're not. They're super straight edge and really different side of spectrum when it comes to the attitude, the
Yep.
lifestyle. But anyway, also they like Buck Cherry. You know Buck Cherry, the band.
No.
It's like a rock and roll band, pretty
Hmm.
mainstream rock and roll band. They love those people. But other than that, I think they pretty much made fun of everybody, and they often use the imagery of World War II Nazi.
Oh yeah.
Like the album Defender of Hate. Remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah. They had the eagle with the little emblem there.
Right, right, right. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really taken a listen to Picnic of Love.
It might not be musically your favorite album, but I'm
Yeah,
sure it will.
yeah. I listen to it as a joke. It's really just a joke.
Of
Becomes something. I'm
course.
not sure if Seth was. Yeah, like you said, I'm not sure what his actual. I guess he doesn't give a shit about anything at all. You know,
Right. Yeah. That's whatever.
it's not like he's you that you write a lot of offensive stuff and do things to push buttons, but then in person you're amazing and a decent human being. But for Seth, like as far as I listen to his interviews and listening to documentaries, because I was curious if he is the actual, like person like you, but he just seems like an asshole, and that's funny too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he could be putting on a show. Like Glenn Benton from Deicide. Like, he's a regular person, but then when he goes on the
Mm.
camera, he puts on a little show.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, maybe could be
but
like that. Hey.
let's track a little bit about back there, and that was a very nice thing you said to me. Thank you so much for the genuine compliment.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we spoke a little bit about my musical projects. Can we talk about yours a bit?
Mhm. Mine, sure.
You There's that grindcore thing that you sent me was a
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah, yeah.
fucking album. That is so dirty.
Mm. Yeah.
Very interested. And then do you have I saw you post something else on your story. You're working on something else too?
Yeah, so I have a friend, actually my coworker, who just started working at my work, and we talked
Mhm.
like 3 times, but he mentioned he'd been to Australia, and he said he plays drums. So I was like, okay, you want to be in a band, just right there, like that. And he's like, yeah, sounds good. And we just started. So I gave him a bunch of songs that I can sing and play guitar of, and he just picked
Mhm.
some. What he like, yeah, his musical taste and mine is very different. Like, you know, I, I, I I mean, I fuck with punk shit and hardcore and some black metal and visual black metal and stuff like that. But he's more like, like general rock guy who even listened to like Avril Lavigne and
Eh.
Guns N' Roses and anything that's on magazine. So I was like, well, what? It's hard enough to find drummers, so I'm not gonna fucking complain. We can just fuck around and see if he likes it or not. If he doesn't, then we don't have to. But he happened to like some songs I sent actually, and we picked 2 songs that he liked, and we had a first session last week and it went well. So if it's gonna go well, I might start playing our own songs. If not, we can just play something that lands between my and his music taste, and it's just for fun. So
Well,
yeah,
that
it's
kind of
not
fusion
really a
breeds innovation, doesn't
serious
it?
band. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm
Hmm.
not complaining, but I wish I had. Himeji is a city that there's only one venue that you can go, and there's not much
Right.
going on. So there's not really a scene. You can go travel to Kobe, which takes 30 minutes, or Osaka, which is one of the biggest cities in Japan. So I could do that, but I mean, I just want to just do something for fun. So I started doing it, and I do this
Yeah, there's lots of
podcast for
venues in
fun.
Osaka.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
absolutely.
And then, of course,
Maybe.
you have the
Mhm.
help of the internet. So, I mean, like, even
Uh-huh.
if you're not doing live shows, you can still get, lots of attention online.
That's true. A lot of bands I listen to these days just came from the Instagram. I just found them on Instagram and stuff like that. And yeah, internet really helps. But
Mhm.
the album you talked about, that's actually under the name of Captain Decapitated, that the
Yeah.
band that used to be in Gifu, which disbanded unfortunately. But I made that entire album for this particular friend for his birthday, Andrew,
Hmm.
and it's all like it was all nonsense, right? Did you read the lyrics?
Yeah, yeah. I read the lyrics.
It's
Some
all
hilarious shit.
it's all nonsense, and it's all based on the experience that we had in Japan or inside jokes, so nobody else gets it. So I didn't really publish it, but you wanted to listen to something that I made, so I just sent it to you, and yeah, I might be able to publish it if people are interested enough.
Well, on top of that, like especially for a grindcore act, like the sound is supreme. It's so gritty, and it's so
Primitive.
like rough, and not like rough
Mm,
in like a rough around the edges way, or rough in like a sandpapery kind of way. Like it's a good
yeah.
grindcore sound. Like it really seriously is.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't aim for that. I tried to make the music as quality as possible, but then what I end up doing is just like I didn't have the right equipment, so I just recorded with my fucking iPhone each individual. Uh, so I put my iPhone in front of the amp, bass amp when I'm playing bass, and guitar and drums. I go to this karaoke place that has a drum set, and I play it, and I try to record it as clear as possible. But you don't have the right equipment. It ends up sounding like that, and I think it's a beauty. It's beauty of making that kind of music. Like some these days, some people really just try hard to make it sound shitty. Do you understand?
Right. And like trying to sound shitty is kind of counterintuitive,
Trying to
right?
sound shitty. Exactly. It kind of loses the beauty of the roughness in the process. Like you're trying to recreate something that happened to sound so rough and violent, but you're trying to, you know, so it's one of those things that turn out to be gritty and nasty naturally. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. But originally, I wanted to make it sound more professional, but I don't have the skill and the equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sound design is an art on its own.
Mm.
And there's a lot of science that goes along with it.
Yeah. Quick shout out to our friend Dave's new project, Hex Offender, which I love the name.
Y- Yes, I'm glad you brought up Dave's project. Dave is he is so driven with this project. It is so cool. And it's got like such a like a true sound to it. He calls it black and roll. It's almost like a black metal version of
Mm,
rock and roll.
yeah. Venom.
Um, And what surprises me, especially, you said you recorded just on your iPhone, and I mean,
Yeah.
so did he. Like when I hear his production, it sounds like he's got like a computer studio, like a home
Mm,
studio with like
mm,
actual like a recording interface. But he's got like this little thing that he ordered off Amazon that just plugs into his phone. He plugs his guitar into that, and same with he's got like this tiny little clip microphone, and it doesn't sound like that. Like I would really
yeah.
expect that to sound tinny or like really digital or artificial, and it doesn't. Like he makes it work so well. And then
Pretty deep and heavy sound too. Yeah, interesting.
and then Dave is great for having like the creative structure going on with Hex Offender. Like I love his material, but he's got some really tight musicians behind him. He's got Rob Brake, who's in too many bands for me to name. Mono Negatives, I guess, is the one that he's super proud of right now, doing super successful with that one. Corey Mona's in a band, punk band called Wretched Fools, and Josh Pinto, JP. I'm so sorry, Josh, for I don't know what project you're in right now, but man, these guys are tight musicians, and he's got a serious thing, and I can't wait for shows to be back and see these guys in concert.
I want to interview Dave, but I don't know enough. I don't know enough. I don't have enough knowledge in the area of his music. Like I don't know what do you guys call that kind of music, black metal, but very specific.
Yeah, he calls it black and roll, or just let's say like
Black
death
and
rock.
roll.
Yeah.
I guess I'm
I
gonna
don't
just
know.
go
Like
ahead and ask him. Who knows?
it's evil music.
It's evil music, and
metal variant.
he always has the sense of humor. Everything he does has sense of humor, and I love that about him.
Yeah,
First
one
I
of his
met
songs,
him.
"Bloodfuck," is about engaging with someone on their period. Not necessarily something gory.
Yeah, I mean, first time I met him, I think.
Oh, sure.
About it.
So there's there were these protesters in town one time when Tsubasa was visiting town, and Dave was driving. We just happened to drive by them, and it wasn't too far from my house. And they had all these pickets and signs and stuff just on the side of the street, like just anti-abortion stuff. And now
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that we oppose the right to protest, but we exercise the right to have an opposing opinion. That's the great thing about
Absolutely.
Canada and whatever our laws are that pertain to freedom of speech. So we decided we wanted to go back and hold up some signs. And Tsubasa, I can't remember your reason for not wanting to participate. I think you just wanted to be a spectator or something.
So you asked me, like, I didn't have any actually, like, you know what? Back then, I thought abortion is bad and people shouldn't abort and stuff, but I never thought about it clearly. And you said, well, you wanna, you guys are like, yeah, let's go back and protest. And I didn't know what you guys were gonna do, but I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna just go along. But I sensed a little bit of danger, but I was like, okay, let's dive into it. So I don't think I was opposed. Do you remember I was saying like no?
I remember we were trying to get you to play with us, and you weren't really as excited as we were. But I
Oh,
mean, like
cause
it
I
was.
think
Well,
I think
well,
cause
we
I was sorry, you can go ahead.
no. You first. You first.
So I think I was like I wasn't not even my country, so I felt kind of first of all, I
Uh,
think I sensed danger a little bit, confrontation, which at the time I was a little more shy, and
yeah.
also like I'm not in my country, so I felt like I shouldn't like go around pissing people off. But who cares? And I just said, okay, fuck it, let's see what happens.
Yeah. So okay. So Dave and I both wrote some signs. Dave just said no, and mine said "kill babies often." And now this wasn't
I have
necessarily a
pictures.
reflection of the of the topic that was being discussed. It was just simply a counter protest. Like we kind of thought these
Yeah.
people are kind of being weenies about it. Like they're personally, I think there's too much of a religious influence behind their opinion, and I think that if a person wants to make a decision for themselves, like if are you the pregnant woman? If you're not the pregnant woman, I think you might want to stand back and let that person deal with their own life.
Yeah,
But
sure.
either way, I just wanted to fuck around. So we went back and
Yeah.
we didn't stand in front of them. We stood next to them. and they had a real
Mm.
problem with that, and they were saying you have no right
Mm.
to be here. And I was like, well, our right
Oh
to
yeah.
be here is the same as your right to be here. We're not saying you can't be here. We're not telling you to fuck
Mm-hmm.
off. We're just
No.
here. You're here. Let's both hold up some signs. And they got really pissed. They said a bunch of shit to us, and it was just ever more satisfying. The more they said to us, the more we soaked it up. Like, yes,
Oh
yes, be
yeah.
upset with us. Fuck you. Eventually, they left.
Yeah. I remember recording. Yeah, I'm glad you guys have me because I recorded it and I took some pictures. And it's hilarious. At some point, they first it started as you guys just standing next to them, among them, in between them, and just people like, oh, these kids, like doing the same thing. And then some guy realized you have a sign that says "kill babies often" and be like, started talking to you, and other people would be like, oh my god, he has like sign, and Dave started flipping the sign like it was originally no, but now he says on because he flipped it upside down. It just
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And you know what? I was actually so happy to encounter the situation because nobody ever challenged my value on that specific topic as well. And that was the time I was actually like had to you actually educated me and gave me a chance to like think not like you should think this way, but we think this way. Why do you think this way? And I had to kind of think to myself, oh, there's more than two ways to think, and you way made sense more at that point. So I was like, I guess you changed my mind.
Oh,
And
wow.
they have right to express their opinions too, and
Of
I
course.
respect your opinion. So I always try since then I always try to listen to both sides and make up my own opinion. So I don't want to. I'm not a. So you told me how to do that partially. So
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I mean, like I, I've absolutely still valued that we didn't like tell them they couldn't have an opinion, but it
no,
bothered them for us to be saying something as much as it bothered us to be them for them to say something. And then that's in a way it's
yeah,
okay. It's okay if you're bothered by someone saying something because not everyone can really agree on everything.
exactly.
Hmm.
Like that's what you have to do when you make friends. Like you can't really change people's mind. You just find common ground and that's fine. And
Hmm.
yeah, and if you're Christian, if you don't like abortion, I'm still gonna be friend with you. So if you're listening,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
on this on a specific topic, you really kind of got me thinking, and I changed my mind, and that was a great moment, and I still remember that day. It's one of the best days. Was that the day that we went tubing, or a different occasion?
I don't know if that was because I seem to remember that being a rainy day.
Yeah, it was foggy. I guess I went to Georgetown like twice or something. But yeah,
Probably. Yeah, the
Georgetown.
other day we went tubing on the river.
That's you know what? That's one of the I might even arguably, is that a word?
Arguably, yeah.
Arguably say the best day I had in Canada. The best day.
Was
Yeah.
tubing or the protest?
Oh, the tubing.
Tubing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
It
We do that all the time.
was
Unfortunately,
amazing.
this year I got out on the same river, and the water level isn't so great. It's kind of low. So I'm glad that
Mm.
when you came, the water level was much higher, and it was a lot more fun.
Oh, I didn't know that. I guess I was lucky.
Yeah, it depends on the year. That's weather for you.
Mm. Yeah, Toronto was nice, but it was nice to go out there. I forgot to mention the song. I guess my favorite song by you. Uh, yeah, I wanted to mention that one. The last song, "Worthless Cesspool of Muciferous Garbage." That's my
Yeah,
favorite.
worthless cesspool of muciferous garbage. That's basically just that one is much more of an emotional like fuck you kind of song.
And
Um,
that's the obvious outro of this album. This is a message meant only for you. Fuck yourself, you ugly piece of shit. Turn this off. Stop this now. It's the end. Album is done. If you're still listening to this point, if you're still listening to this point, your
Yeah,
music
yeah.
taste is bad as it.
Right, yeah. So basically, just like
Amazing.
as far as you've listened so far, we've had fun poking fun at other people, and now fuck you. What, you like this music? You're a piece of shit. Go to hell. Nah,
That's
yeah, that
amazing.
one's mostly about like just just feeling goddamn nasty. So things about like if I see a baby in danger and it's no problem for me to help, all I got to do is stop a stroller from rolling into traffic. Nah,
Yes.
I'd rather see you upset that your baby got smushed, or like if you're starving and I've got loads of food, I'd rather let it just go bad. Like, you know, fuck you. Go ahead and
That's
starve. I
amazing.
got lots of food.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself.
Obviously, that's not how I feel like as a real human being. Like that's not me at all. That's the character Glenn Branley. But
Yeah, that's the thing about this kind of music that people kind of misunderstand and interpret it in a way that wow, this person is horrible, but it just means that you have no sense of humor, so you can go fuck yourself.
yeah, I mean, everyone feels from time to time, your emotions take control of you, and you end up feeling a way or expressing a way that doesn't exactly align with who you are as a human being.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you just like you kind of wish there were no repercussions for the negative ways you feel. Like if you could go out and just assault somebody without there being any kind of consequences. Like if nobody gets
Mm,
hurt, but you still have the satisfaction of hurting someone.
yeah.
um that's people feel negative in a lot of different ways, and there's lots of different ways to express that, which is I guess it's no news to anybody that that's a main criticism for metal music in general. I don't want to say that my music is metal, but like when people listen to
Mm.
Cannibal Corpse and they're like, oh wow, Cannibal Corpse is very violent music, it's all about like murder and gore and
Mm.
gruesomeness in every way. It's like you're gonna make people become angry people, and
Yeah,
it's exactly the opposite. It's like the normal things in life are
absolutely.
making people angry people, and they wish that they had some kind of outlet which is as extreme as this music is, and the extremity of the
Yeah,
music is just simply a way for people to come to terms with how they feel. And like if you get that out just listening to this music, and you get that rush from the idea of this violent imagery, then you're much less likely to act that out in real life, which is not the way everyone really sees it from an outsider
absolutely.
perspective.
Mm. Yeah, people who understand that get those music and jokes, humor, and those are the people I love to hang out with.
Hmm.
I can't deal with people who don't take jokes, who get offended all the time, and yeah.
Yeah, people with a
I
delicate sense of humor or a delicate sense of principles.
I now you are, I would say, whether you are aware of that this or not, you're one of my role models. When I think of when I encounter some difficulties in life, I would think, oh, what would Alan do? What would Andrew do? What would Elise do? Like one of those people. If you
No
notice or
way.
not. So yeah,
Well, thank you so much. That's very flattering to hear, man.
yeah. So yeah, I just put it out there. And this is a really interesting episode.
Hey, I'm glad you
Um,
feel that way.
mhm. Yeah.
Likewise, I look up to you as well, dude. When I think of the things that you've accomplished in your life, I kind of feel a little jealous.
Mm,
You're
like
you're
what?
you're well, especially with how widespread of a person you are. Like, not just the idea of you having been to another country for the sake of absorbing culture and language, but
Mm,
um, like your influence reaches so far, and that you've made so many friends not only nationally but internationally. Um,
mm.
that like you're an influential dude, and you've got like a solid head in your shoulders, and I really admire that about you.
Solid head. What's that expression?
It means that you are uh, like you're a well put together person. You are a
Mm,
strong person. You're a capable person, and that
mm.
you're an exceptional person, dude.
Thank you.
And I'm not just saying that because you give you a compliment. Like I honestly feel that way.
Yeah, I know you enough to know that. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna end the recording here. But if something happens to your future project, whether it's tattoo or music or not, I want to have you back because it's been so fun.
Oh, thanks, man. You're waiting this whole time just for me to say something nice to you, and you're like, all right, that's it. We're done now. I got what I wanted out of you. We're done.
All right. I guess I'm gonna let me see. End the podcast, but just stay a bit so we can just chat a bit more. So
Sure, man. It's
see you
been a
guys.
pleasure.
Thank you
Thank you
for
so much for
listening.
happening.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor to be on your podcast. And
Amazing.
everyone else listening, thank you so much for putting up with my garbage. Don't worry, it'll all be over soon. You'll never have to see me ever again.
Exactly. See you guys. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you for listening till the end. The song I just played is by today's guest Allan, and his music project is called That, T-H-A-T, from the album Hyper Dyke Diaper Christ. The song is called Worthless Cesspool of Muciferous Garbage. It's on Bandcamp, thathurts.bandcamp.com. Please check out if you're fucked enough to be interested in. Thanks again and go fuck yourself.